Hello there, welcome to CoreTV News at 4. I'm Gift or Gete. Reports just reaches us indicates that the meeting of the Nigerian Governors Forum is currently on in Abuja with over 20 state governors in attendance. The meeting is the first since the peace meeting which led to the emergence of Zamfara State Governor Aziz Yari as the chairman of the forum. We'll bring you details in our subsequent bulletins. The Progressive Governors Forum says the bad state of the nation's economy is responsible for the non-payment of salaries across the states in recent times. They want the government to make bailout funds available for the states while carrying out complete overhauling of the system to block leakages. Leader of the forum, Rochas Okorocha, says the fall in global oil prices and the mismanagement of funds from subsidy are some of the factors responsible for the financial crash.
Drop in oil price, and secondly, the issue of oil theft. But there are other issues like the crude swap, the gas revenue, which has never reflected on any of the Federation account, and the subsidy mismanagement, which is known to everyone. For instance, only a few years ago, the subsidy amount was about 200 billion, and today is about 1.4 trillion. So what has really changed? So we're really concerned about some of this obvious looting of our nation's treasury.
With the crisis generated by the non-payment of salaries in some states and the industrial action embarked upon by workers in such states like Osun over the issue, political parties have joined the fray. The Osun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party and the state government are now engaged in a war of words over the financial situation of the state. Rashid has more on this report from Osogbo.
7 months on and still counting, civil servants in the employ of Osun State are still to be paid, and strategies such as protest and public appeal for food aids for workers have been employed. But the latest in this saga is a war of words between the state government and the state chapter of the People's Democratic Party. The party says the Osun State government has been busy siphoning the state's money, making it impossible to pay workers. PDP governorship candidate in the last gubernatorial elections in 2014, Iyola Omishiri, says the state government has failed the workers.
Between 4 contracts, around 100 million was stolen and was missing. Between Bagdan Junction and the Shakwana Phase 1, between Osogbo and the Kwara boundary, and the Osogbo Ring Road and the Osun Airport, 102 billion is missing, over-inflated, over-contractual. If they can bring out of this money to this thing, where money is stolen or taken to, he pays salary for 6 months, so the money is in his pocket, let him pay us. When we see people that they should assist and they don't be done. Helicopter, you have 2 pilots, you have somebody, you have engineers, you have maintenance crew. These monies are enough to pay salaries for God's sake. Like I said earlier on, Bogan Junction to Second Phase 1 was costed at 8.2 billion naira. And everybody give that at 49.1 billion. That's 49 billion naira cash out. Osogbo to Kwara boundary was given to KFIC Global at 9.2 billion. It gave to Samia at 9 billion naira plus. 30 billion cashed out. That's 70. Also going narrow, Ring Road, they are doing by one funding country like this. It was not billion, but it was costed by Onya regime that time, I think for about 5.2 billion. It's awarded out at 24 billion. That's about 10 billion naira. Yeah, but I allocated, there are couple figures, I allocated 3.5 twice for Airport, 7 billion naira. Nothing has been done there now. So where these monies are being taken to, let them be magnanimous enough, let them fear God.
But in a swift reaction, the state governor, Orunfa Aregbesola, dismissed the allegation as baseless, adding that the issue is not peculiar to Osun State.
As a matter of fact, I have not received any salary since I became the governor of Osun State. I'm not gloating on this, I'm just letting you know that I have for from the very beginning of my stay, of my absorption of office, decided that the difficulty and challenges that I know will be part of the process of governing this state will be shared by me and my family members. Once again, I urge you to take heart in no distant future, and I mean by the end of this month.
While the workers expect a resolution as the politicians bicker, Muslims among them will hope that the holy month of Ramadan brings with it the glad tidings of payment of salaries. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ile-Ife.
Lagos State government has clarified that heads and chief executives of government-owned agencies and parastatals are not affected by the dissolution of boards of parastatals and agencies, as recently directed by the state governor, Akinwumi Ambode. In a statement signed by the secretary to the state government, Tunji Bello, the State House of Assembly Commission was also exempted from the dissolution directive. Bello said the clarification became necessary due to different wrong interpretations given to the media announcement of the dissolution. Governor Ambode had on Monday approved the dissolution of all boards of parastatals and agencies of government in the state, with the exemption of the State Civil Service Commission, Judicial Service Commission, and the State Independent Electoral Commission. Youths for Change Nigeria, an umbrella group of Nigerian youths, has said President Muhammadu Buhari is the leader of Nigeria, not just of the All Progressives Congress. Hence, it will be wrong to clock him in a partisan toga. In a statement issued in Lagos on Tuesday, the organization's national leader, Mr. Shehu Bobade, said the moment Buhari was sworn in as president on May 29th, he became the leader of all Nigerians, irrespective of their party affiliations. A coalition of civil society groups has described as false the report of Amnesty International indicting notable officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces for war crimes and the fight against Boko Haram. The group stated that the report of Amnesty International is not a true reflection of the current war against Boko Haram. It maintained that the investigation carried out by the group is at variance with the Amnesty International report, which is capable of demoralizing troops on the front line. President of the group, Etuk Basi, in a courtesy visit to the defense headquarters in Abuja, pledged to submit its findings over the Amnesty report to the International Criminal Court. Pius Samuel has more.
We reject in totality the report of the Amnesty International indicting noble officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces for war crime in the fight against Boko Haram in the Northeast between March 2011 and 2014. This report has been found to be lopsided, lacking in basic facts, and bereft of fundamental understanding of the war against insurgency has been fought and almost won in Nigeria. No military in a modern-day era has been able to give a 6-week action plan reclaiming back lost territories, guaranteeing a free and fair election, except this same Nigerian military that has made it to come to pass, even to the surprise of the war, that has not even given a gunshot was aired throughout the 2015 general elections.
Senate President Bukola Saraki says the 8th Assembly will set priority on identifying and considering bills for early passage into law. He made the commitment when a delegation of civil society groups visited him in his office at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja. Saraki further stated that efforts will be made to consolidate on the gains recorded by the 7th Assembly.
Very importantly, Mr. President, we know that the Constitution was amended by this National Assembly, and the amendments that were made were the most far-reaching amendments of any amendment to a live document, the Nigerian Constitution. These far-reaching amendments covered making justiciable several of the social and economic rights contained in the present Constitution, but also several other issues that are really very important. And we thought it was the most progressive amendment to the Constitution that was made.
But our plan is very soon to meet as senators and have a legislative agenda that will identify what we call priority bills and find a way of fast-tracking the priority bills. I mean, I was one of those, I was on the program that defended some of the actions of the 7th Assembly in as much as it might not have looked tidy, but I think we should all appreciate why we're here. At the end of the day, we're here to ensure that laws are passed are important. And I think that if we identify these bills early enough, then we can prioritize them and ensure that in a very short period of time, the two chambers will pass them. And I think that we would have that agenda. We'll fix a time where we'll sit down, senators, and look at laws that, whatever side of the divide you are, they're important to the people of our great country.
The senator representing Ondo North Senatorial District, Robert Borofis, on Tuesday clarified that the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, did not impose Senator Haman Lawan and Honorable Femi Fagbabiamila as consensus candidates of the party for the National Assembly leadership positions. Borofis, in an interview with journalists in Abuja on Tuesday, argued that Tinubu had preferred Senator George Akume and Gbajabiamila to be presented as the party's choice for the post of Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives, respectively. He said the argument of Tinubu was that both Akume and Gbajabiamila, being minority leaders in the 7th Senate and House of Representatives, should automatically assume the leadership of both chambers as Senate President and Speaker, respectively. There was a general outcry among some federal lawmakers over the roles played by Tinubu towards the inauguration of the 8th National Assembly when the election into the office of the Senate President, his Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives and his deputy were conducted. The People's Democratic Party has cautioned former Kano State Governor Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso against provocative utterances which it says are capable of destabilizing the National Assembly and ravishing the prevailing political tranquility in the country. PDP National Publicity Secretary Chief Olisamitu, in a statement in Abuja on Tuesday, said the party was particularly shocked by what he described as a hate statement from Kwankwaso, wherein he used offensive language against the PDP and its members in the National Assembly. The former governor had fought at the election of Senator Ike Ekweremadu as the Deputy Senate President when his party, the PDP, is a minority in the Senate. While condemning this, Kwankwaso warned that the action was capable of affecting a regime of President Muhammadu Buhari. Metu, in his statement, however, said his party was taken aback by the venom and bitterness in the statement, especially coming from a former governor, an elected senator, a highly respected former member of the PDP, who also benefited hugely from the party as minister and two-time state governor. The Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has challenged the state governor, Nyesom Wike, to declare his assets. The state APC explained that such step was necessary in keeping with the requirement of the office of the governor and in line with the mantra of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government to promote transparency and accountability. State chairman of the party, Davis Ekanya, said in a statement issued in Port Harcourt on Tuesday that the people of the state were interested in knowing his financial status, describing Wike as a caretaker governor. Ekanya said, in line with the Code of Conduct for elected public officers in Nigeria, we wish to advise Chief Wike to hasten to declare his assets. The Inspector General of Police, Solomon Orase, says the 27 policemen who went missing after terrorists attacked Gwaza, Borno State in August 2014 are yet to be declared dead. Orase disclosed this while fielding questions from newsmen in Abuja. It says the people would follow its tradition of declaring officers who went missing in battle dead after a certain period of time. It would be recalled that 35 policemen could not be accounted for after Boko Haram terrorists attacked Gwaza, where a police training school is located, on August 2014.
There is a tradition in the Nigerian police force. When your officers are missing in battle, you don't declare them dead or missing until after, a period has lapsed. So we are still waiting for that period to come and lapse, and if we cannot find them after that time, then we will formally declare them either dead or missing. And I'm sure, very soon, most of our officers who have paid the supreme price, in the fight against insurgency, we are already trying to put their names on marble. I'm sure when you walk into our reception downstairs, you will see that we started doing something, trying to cast their names on marble, and
will always glorify them. We will always appreciate them. We will always, feel for them. And this is one of the reasons too. This goes to underscore one of the reasons why we are so passionate about the welfare of our men. If most of them they have houses, before this unfortunate incident happened, we can be sure that their families will also have a shelter over their heads. So you can see that the synergy between their being.
Still on police matters, the police high command has put an embargo on all forms of leave for its officers and men in Zone 6 Command, comprising Rivers, Ebonyi, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River States. A statement signed by the police force public relations officer Emmanuel Ojukwu said the IGP Solomon Arase met the order to stem the increasing trend of kidnapping and violent crimes there. The statement's further noted the IGP's concern that despite several directive on anti-crime activities, the situation there has not abated, thus leading to the stern warning to the police. The police high command, however, reaffirmed its commitment at ensuring that peace prevails and people go about their lawful businesses in all parts of the country. They enjoined the public to report suspicious persons and criminal elements at the nearest police station for prompt action. The trial within a trial of Aminu Oguche, the alleged mastermind of the 2014 Nyayan bus terminal bombing, and 5 others continue on Tuesday at the Federal High Court, Abuja. This followed an order of the court to conduct another trial to determine if the allegation of forced confessional statement against the accused person is true. A prosecution witness from the State Security Service informed the court that the first and third accused persons voluntarily made their statements in relation to the bombing. After admitting the witness statements, Justice Mohammed adjourned till June 17th for continuation of cross-examination of the prosecution witness.
That is to determine the voluntariness or otherwise of the alleged confessional statements. The PW1 has given his evidence. He has concluded his evidence today, and the Honorable Court adjourned the matter for cross-examination of that PW1 tomorrow. So that was what happened today.
It's CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a break. Stay with us.
One continent, 54 countries, over 2,000 languages, but united with similar interests. As news breaks, we give you in-depth analysis around Africa every Monday on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV News at 4. Now for more on CoreTV News, you can catch us on our social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV Space News. We continue with the rest of our stories. Kwara State Command of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has decorated new promoted officers, the first of its kind in the state. Rashid has more in this report from our studios.
Since the establishment of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in 2003 by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the security agent has since witnessed one form of improvement or the other. Security Arm was established to complement the police and other related security agencies and the safety of life and property. After 12 years of operation, the establishment recorded the first success of promotion of certified officers and hereby decorated in the Kwara State capital. The State Commandant, Austin Obiekwe, charged the newly promoted officers to discharge their duties respectively.
To those who got promoted, I say congratulations. Let it also be known to you that a lot will be expected of you in uplifting and upholding of the Corps' mandate towards the realization of the dreams of our Commandant General and the founding fathers of the Corps.
The joy here cannot be compromised as the newly decorated officers express gratitude to God.
Actually, it came at the very right time. It came at the right time. You know, in our agency, we do our things to standard. Once you are due for promotion and consider other variables, of course, you are sure to get your promotion.
It will make me to put more effort at least to perform the security job which the core mandate demands.
With these newly promoted officers of the Civil Defense Corps, it is expected of them to live by the dictates of their engagement.
With the crisis in Plateau State showing no sign of abating anytime soon, a former governor of Plateau State, John Ajang, has been blamed for the failure to bring the crisis to an end. Former General Secretary of the NDLEA Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Saleh Bayeri, says the former governor created bad blood between the Fulanese and their neighbors by using security forces to chase them around the state. A Plateau State correspondent has details in this report presented from our studios.
With the 2015 elections done, combatants in the unending Plateau State communal crisis have returned to the trenches with reports of daily attacks and reprisal attacks. But according to this former scribe of the NDLEA Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, Saleh Bayeri, this is a blowback from the former administration under John Ajang.
My name is Alhaji Saleh Bayeri, former State Secretary of the NDLEA in Plateau State for 13 years, also former National Secretary of the NDLEA for 5 years in Nigeria. I'm currently also Secretary of the Sultan's Farmers Fulani Katuriaras Relationship Committee in the country. Basically, I did not expect that the former governor of Plateau State would succeed in putting a stop to the crisis between herdsmen of Fulani and farmers in Plateau State. Because as far as I am concerned, he's the architect of this.
The attacks, which have assumed a frightening dimension, especially in Riyom and back in Ladi local government areas, according to him, is not unconnected with the forceful eviction of some people from their homes using the machinery of government.
As early as 2009, there was a serious problem in Wase, Bashar chiefdom, where the governor used some security personnel in Plateau State to eject some families of Fulanis in that area. And the thing created so much bad blood that the entire Fulanis, not only in Plateau State but in Nigeria, were enraged. You know, because it was for the first time in Nigeria that you find Nigerians being forced out, you know, by an executive, by the chief executive and the security officer of a state, out of that state, which was a serious breach of the Constitution of Nigeria as far as the freedom of movement is concerned.
But this, according to Emmanuel Lomen, chairman of Algon in Plateau State, the soldiers have been conniving with the Fulanis to attack soldiers and not the other way round.
That we are living in an unfortunate society today because we've had evidence in the past whereby ID card were found at the spot of crisis or spot of attacks. Bell, shoes, all whatnot were found there, but no any action has been taken to serve as a deterrent to others. And today, what is happening? The killings are done professionally. You will discover that the Fulanis will have a special squad that are well trained. Who train those people? This is some of the STF officers that are within their domain.
But just as the blame game takes center stage, it is only hoped that the Plateau crisis will gather required attention from the appropriate authorities to stop further loss of lives.
The priest of St. Benedict Catholic Church, Ido-Ekiti, Reverend Father Emmanuel Akingbade, has regained his freedom. The priest was released early as of Wednesday. The Catholic diocese, however, denies paying ransom. Rashid has more.
That is the mood when the news of the release of Reverend Father Emmanuel Akingbade filtered into town. The father kidnapped on the 9th of June was released and allegedly found in Isho-Ekiti. The Catholic Bishop of Ekiti Diocese, Bishop Felix Ajakaye, speaks.
They had been speaking with me, the abductors. They even allowed me to speak with Father. But for security reasons, I did that I shouldn't tell the public so that we will be able to reach an agreement. In fact, they were requesting for 200 million naira. And I had to tell them the Catholic Church is a non-profit church, and that the Catholic Church doesn't have money, and not only that, the Catholic Church doesn't pay ransom. But we were still negotiating and praying. They asked me, okay, how much we could afford. I said, even 1 kobo, we couldn't. They still spoke with me yesterday night, and I told them. They began to speak in Yoruba now, because they said they came from Delta.
Though Father Emmanuel was shielded from journalists, the Catholic Diocese denies paying ransom or being rescued by local hunters as peddled in some quarters.
Please, don't listen to that. And that is why you saw me that I told some journalists to leave. A friend in need is a friend indeed. In fact, what happened is a parable.
The Ekiti State Police Commissioner, Itop John James, via phone chat, confirms the release and arrest of 3 suspects in Delta State.
I'm on tour. I had to break the tour to go and see the released Reverend Father and the Bishop. But the same members of the gang that have been arrested, 3 of them at Delta State. They have a syndicate spread out in many states. There's an ongoing operation with the police and the DSS. So it's a joint operation going on, and we are not bringing out a lot of details, but we can tell you that various principal members of the gang have been arrested.
With the kidnap and release of Reverend Father Emmanuel Akingbade, Ekiti residents will either heave a sigh of relief or sleep with one eye closed, not knowing when next kidnappers will strike. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
Imo State Police Command has paraded no fewer than 25 students who converged at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, the Imo State capital, on Monday. The students, who came from different tertiary institutions in Nigeria, assembled at Futo to be initiated into cult activities, but were apprehended by the police overnight.
We arrested yesterday, or precisely early this morning, based on a tip-off by concerned citizens who saw when they were gathering in a bush around the Futo area. As a follow-up, operatives were detailed to the area, and in the process, these 25 suspects you see here were arrested. They belong to the Black Axe cult group. They are from within and outside the state. Some of them come from Abia, Imo, and other states. They were said to be converging for their national conference as well as the initiation ceremony before the police would conduct.
Officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested a trader and an apprentice for ingesting 132 wraps of cocaine weighing 2.7 kg. Suspects were intercepted at the Malamaminu Kanu International Airport, Makia Kanu, while returning from Kenya. They both tested positive for drug ingestion during inward screening of passengers on an Ethiopian airline flight. NDLEA commander at the airport, Kanu Airport, Mr. Ambrose Umoru, gave the names of the suspects as Utaka Patrick Kalu, 48 years, old trader who ingested 42 wraps of cocaine weighing 1.450 kg, or David Ikechukwu, 32-year-old apprentice at Alaba Market, ingested 60 wraps of cocaine weighing 1.250 kg. The suspects were nabbed on their way from Kenya. Interim investigation revealed that they were recruited by one source and were promised the sum of $5,000 each. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday grilled the former governor of Ebonyi State, Martin Elechi, who arrived at the Wuse Abuja office of the commission at 10 a.m. along with some former cabinet members, was accused of misappropriating public funds while in office. The former governor, who left office on May 29th after a second term, could not be quizzed while in office by the commission because he had constitutional immunity against prosecution. The anti-graft agency had on January 29, 2015 questioned the former governor's son, Nana, on allegations of money laundering and embezzlement. The EFCC spokesman, Osun confirmed that Ilechi was being interrogated following allegations of misappropriation of public funds, but attempts to ascertain whether the former governor would be detained overnight was not successful, as several calls made to Omajarin's telephone line at 6:45 a.m. failed to connect. It's CoreTV News at 4. We'll take another break. Stay with us.
That's a sign of protest, saying that things are not good.
Women share the most amazing thoughts.
When it's close to the time, our people will protest
on national issues.
That was on their own point.
That was an accident. That is different.
And they do it
Politics is about being a servant.
passionately.
Without a woman, there will be no success at all.
Sharing the adorable word of women.
There are some women who have what it takes.
In politics.
Margaret Thatcher, Iron Lady. When she's too soft, she's too soft.
Only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. Now outside Nigeria, Jeb Bush, a son and brother of the Bush family, formally declared a White House candidacy of his own on Monday, portraying himself as the most accomplished leader in 2016 field, vying to wage war on Washington's political culture and insisting that his family name gave him no unique claim to the Oval Office. After a boxy 6 months in which he struggled to excite primary voters who were skeptical of his surname and of his conservative convictions.
I, for one, am not eager to see what another 4 years would look like under that kind of leadership. The presidency should not be passed on from one liberal to the next. So here's what it comes down to. Our country's on a very bad course, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? The question for me is, what am I going to do about it? And I've decided I'm a candidate for President of the United States of America.
Presidential bid before a cheering crowd at Miami-Dade College Kendall campus. He promised to remove Washington as an obstacle to effective government and economic prosperity, saying America deserves better. President Vladimir Putin says Russia will update its nuclear arsenal with more than 40 intercontinental ballistic missiles in 2015. While speaking at an arms fair, Mr. Putin said the weapons would be able to overcome even the most technically advanced anti-missile defense systems. NATO and Western leaders accuse Russia of sending soldiers and heavy weapons, including tanks and missiles, to the pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine, while Russia has repeatedly denied this, insisting that any Russians fighting there are volunteers, and the 40 nuclear missiles that Mr. Putin referred to on Tuesday and not additional missiles but replacement for old ones, says the BBC's Sarah Rainsford in Moscow. It comes after the U.S. proposed increasing its military presence in NATO states in Eastern Europe, with tensions high over Russia's role in the conflict in eastern Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian officials have warned that Moscow will respond if the U.S. carries out its plan to stir heavy military equipment in Eastern Europe, including in the ballistic states that were once part of the Soviet Union. 6 Irish students have been killed and 7 others have been seriously injured when a 4th-floor balcony in California gave way. The students are believed to have been holding a birthday party at the time, Irish officials said, but the cause of the collapse is unknown. Edna Kenny, the Irish Prime Minister, has said that police told him there were 13 people on the balcony when it collapsed, and Irish Foreign Minister Charlie Flanagan They said the 4 of the victims died at the scene and another died in the hospital. The balcony, which is approximately 5 feet, 1.5 long, and 10 feet wide, broke from the building around 12:41 local time. Many of those hurt have life-threatening injuries, as 2 Irish students who were asleep in the building when the incident occurred described a loud sound when the balcony fell. Irish President Michael Higgins said that he had heard with the greatest sadness of the terrible loss of the life of young Irish people and the critical injury of others in Berkeley, California, today, as the Irish Consul General in San Francisco is helping those affected. And that's our news for this hour. Thank you so much for staying on with us on behalf of the entire news production team.